The phone buzzed so hard on the table that my teacup shook. I looked at the screen and froze. It was the family group chat. The one my mother loved. The one she made years ago so we could check on each other, share birthdays and send prayer messages. Ever since the funeral, that chat had been quieter than normal. People said they were tired. People said they were still processing. I thought maybe someone had finally sent a kind message. Maybe a simple, "Mama Eunice, how are you holding up?" But what I saw was not kindness. It was a message from my daughter, Nadia, short, cold, like ice water poured on skin. "We've all agreed you're no longer part of the family," she wrote. "Don't come to any gatherings." My eyes moved down before my mind could even catch up. Caleb, her husband, replied right under it. "I agree." That was all. 2 words from him, like he was signing a paper, like he was stamping a decision, like my years of love could be erased with a tap. For a moment, I did not breathe. My chest felt tight. My fingers went numb. I stared at the screen so long the words started to blur, then sharpen again, then blur again. I had just buried my mother. A week ago, I stood at the grave and watched the last bit of soil cover her casket. I had held the edge of my scarf with shaking hands and told myself, "Be strong. You are the oldest now. You must keep the family together." And now the same family was cutting me out like I was a bad fruit. I wanted to type 100 things. I wanted to say, "Nadia, are you okay? Are you angry with me? Why are you doing this?" I wanted to say, "Caleb, how can you speak like that after all I have done for you?" I wanted to remind them of the nights I stayed awake when Nadia had fevers as a child, the school fees I paid when she was almost sent home, the groceries I bought when they said work was slow, the rent support I sent quietly so no one would know they were struggling, the way I never asked them to praise me, I never posted it, I never used it to shame them. I just helped. Because that is what family does. My eyes burned. Tears sat in them like heavy stones, but I swallowed hard and held them back. Not because I wasn't hurt, because I knew something important. If I replied in anger, they would use it. They would screenshot it. They would say, "See, she is the problem." I set the phone down, pressed my palms on the table and closed my eyes. My mother's voice came to me, the soft and clear, the way it always was when she wanted me to calm down. "Eunice," she would say, "don't talk when your heart is boiling. Wait until your mind is cool." So I waited. I stood up and walked slowly to the window. Outside, the streetlight threw weak yellow light on the road. A dog barked far away. Somewhere a generator hummed. Normal sounds, normal night, but nothing was normal inside me. I thought about the funeral again. I remembered Nadia crying into my shoulder, her face wet. I remembered Caleb standing behind her, a hand on her back looking serious. I remembered Aunt Moira, my cousin, moving around like she was in charge of everyone, telling people where to sit, who to serve first, who should speak next. At the time, I told myself, everyone is grieving. Let people do what they can. Now, standing by the window, I asked myself a scary question. Who put this idea in my daughter's head? Because it did not feel like Nadia's real voice. Nadia could be stubborn, yes. She could be proud, yes. But this message felt planned. Like it was written by someone who wanted a clean cut. Like someone wanted to push me out and slam the door behind me. I went back to the table and picked up my phone again. The chat was still there. Other relatives had seen the message. Some were typing. Some had sent shocked emojis. Some had asked, "What is this?" Some had gone quiet like they were watching and waiting. I opened the keyboard. My hands were still shaking. I typed, erased, typed, erased. Then I forced myself to keep it simple, and I wrote only, "Thanks for confirming." I stared at it for one more second. Then I sent it. A small scene mark appeared beside my message almost immediately. My stomach turned. I put the phone down again, but I did not stand up this time. Instead, I opened another app, the one I rarely liked opening at night, my banking app. For years, I had set things on autopay, so Nadia and Caleb would not struggle. I didn't want them to call me every month with stress, so I made it easy. Quiet help, smooth help, a payment for their rent support, a payment for Nadia's phone line, a payment for the car note Caleb took and promised he would handle soon, a streaming subscription for the kids, a small health plan top-up. They weren't rich, but with my help, they looked stable. I looked at the list and felt something twist inside me. They had just said I was not family, so why was my money still acting like I was family? My finger hovered over the first auto-payment. I did not smile. I did not feel proud. I did not feel revenge. I felt sad. A tired sadness, like someone finally admitting the truth about a person they love. I tapped cancel, then the next one. Cancel, then the next. Cancel. One by one, I ended them all. Each cancellation felt like cutting a thread, not because I wanted to abandon my child, but because I refused to be used. When I finished, the app showed the new balance and the list of stopped payments. The room felt colder. I leaned back in my chair and finally let one tear fall. Just one. I wiped it fast, like someone might walk in and see, but there was no one, just me. A grandma in a quiet house, while still smelling faintly of funeral flowers, sitting with a phone that had changed my whole world in one message. I turned the phone face down and whispered, "God, help me not to break." Then I stood up, turned off the light, and went to bed. I did not know what would happen next. I only knew this. When people remove you from the family, they also remove themselves from your support. And by morning, they were going to feel it. I didn't sleep. I lay on my bed with my eyes open, listening to the tiny sounds in the house. The ceiling fan clicked softly. The curtains moved a little when the night breeze slipped in. My mind kept replaying the same two messages like a cruel song. "We've all agreed you're no longer part of the family." I agree. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the words again. Around 11:40 p.m., my phone buzzed once. Then again. Then again. At first, I ignored it. I told myself I needed peace. I told myself, let them be. Let them sit with what they said. But the buzzing didn't stop. It became a steady, angry vibration, like my phone was begging me to look. I picked it up. The group chat was flooding. Not one message, not two. Message after message after message. It started with confusion. Wait, what does this mean? Nadia, are you serious? Why would you say this to Mama Eunice? This is not right. Then the tone changed, fast. People began asking questions about money as if they were suddenly remembering things they never wanted to mention before. Caleb, did your rent go through? Nadia, did you pay the car note? Who is handling the phone bill now? Maybe it's a bank mistake. My throat tightened. A bank mistake? No, this was not a mistake. This was a decision. And like every decision, it came with results. My call log filled up too. I didn't even have to scroll far before I saw the numbers climbing. 5 missed calls, 10, 20, 30. By midnight, it was like a storm had entered my phone. I opened the call log again and counted slowly. 56 missed calls. 56. Some were from Nadia. Some were from Caleb. Some were from relatives who never called me unless they needed something. I sat up in bed and held the phone in both hands, staring at that number like it was a strange joke. Only a few hours ago, they wanted me gone. Now everyone wanted my attention. The group chat messages changed again, this time to panic. Nadia. Mum, please call me. Nadia. Why are the payments not going through? Nadia. Mum, answer me, please. Caleb. This isn't funny. Caleb. Fix this now. Caleb. You can't do this in the middle of the month. I read his words and felt heat rise in my chest. He didn't even ask if I was okay. He didn't even say, we're sorry. He spoke like I was a machine that malfunctioned, like I was a wallet with a mouth. Another message came in, this time from Aunt Moira. Aunt Moira, my dear, let's not allow the devil to enter this family. Aunt Moira, you know grief can make people talk anyhow. Aunt Moira, please just calm down and restore the payments. We will settle this tomorrow. Settle this tomorrow. Restore the payments, that was the order. Not. Nadia shouldn't have said that. Not. Caleb shouldn't have agreed. Mama Eunice, we love you. Just restore the payments. I stared at Aunt Moira's message and felt my sadness turn into something else, something clearer. I suddenly remembered small things. How Aunt Moira always knew everyone's business before anyone else did. How she always called Nadia my child and pulled her aside to talk. How she always acted like she was the family's peacemaker, but somehow peace never came. Only more talk. I looked at the chat again. Some relatives were now blaming me. Why would Mama Eunice do this? She knows Nadia has kids. Even if she is angry, she shouldn't remove support. This is too much. I read those lines and my eyes burned. Too much? Too much was burying my mother and then being told I was no longer family. Or too much was staying quiet for years while people leaned on me like a walking ladder. Too much was giving and giving and giving and still being treated like a problem the moment I didn't serve. I wanted to scream into the chat. I wanted to say, did anyone defend me when Nadia sent that message? Did anyone correct Caleb when he agreed? Did anyone call me first to ask what happened? But I didn't. I kept breathing slowly. In, out, in, out. I heard my mother again in my head, steady and wise. Don't rush when people are shouting. The loudest voice is not always the truth. So I chose one message, just one. Clear, simple. I typed into the group chat. You said I'm no longer family. Family support ends with family. My finger paused over the send button. I could already imagine the replies. I could already imagine the guilt lines they would throw at me. But I pressed send anyway. For a few seconds, the chat went quiet. Then Nadia sent a voice note. I didn't open it. I couldn't. Not yet. Because I knew if I heard her crying, my heart would soften too fast, and I would start cleaning up the mess they made. Again. The phone rang again. Nadia. I let it ring. Then Caleb. I let it ring too. Then Aunt Moira. I let it ring. My chest ached, my eyes watered, but my hands stayed still. After a while, the calls stopped for a minute, like they were all taking a breath before the next attack. That was when a private call came in from someone I did not expect at that hour. Pastor Daniel. I answered because Pastor Daniel never called late without a good reason. "Hello, Mama Eunice," he said softly. His voice was calm and like warm water on a cold day. I couldn't speak right away. My throat was tight. "I'm sorry to call this late," he continued, "but I'm seeing messages. People are upset and I'm worried about you." That simple sentence cracked something in me. Someone was worried about me, not about payments, not about rent. Me. I swallowed hard. "Pastor," I whispered. There was a pause, and I heard him breathe. Then he asked, gently, "What happened? What really happened at the funeral week? Because this doesn't look like normal family quarrel." I stared at the ceiling. Tears rolled into my ears. "I don't know," I said, my voice small. "I truly don't know." He didn't rush me, he didn't blame me. He only said, "Okay, then we will take it step by step. But tonight, please don't make any decision from fear. Make decisions from truth." After the call ended, I sat on my bed for a long time. Outside, the street went quiet again. Inside, my phone kept lighting up with new messages. But I didn't answer. I turned off notifications, placed the phone face down, and pressed my palm to my chest as if I could hold my heart in place. I wasn't just grieving my mother anymore. I was grieving my daughter too. Because something had changed in Nadia, and I could feel it, like a door closing softly, but for real. Morning came, but it didn't feel like morning. The sun rose, birds made noise, and people went to work like nothing happened. But inside my house, the air felt heavy, like the walls were carrying grief. I sat at my kitchen table with a small plate of food I couldn't eat. My phone was beside me, quiet now, because I had turned off the loud alerts. Still, the screen showed new messages waiting, like a pile of letters I didn't want to open. I didn't open them yet. Instead, my mind went back to the funeral week, not the day itself, the week after. The week where everyone said they were trying to heal, but small sharp things kept happening. When my mother died, I felt like the ground moved under my feet. She was old, yes, but she was my anchor. Even when she was tired, she still made the family feel like a family. At the funeral, many people cried. Nadia cried the loudest. She held my arms so tight I could feel her nails. She kept saying, "I can't believe she's gone. I can't believe she left us." I held her like I held her when she was small. I rubbed her back. I didn't judge her tears. I understood them. But there were moments that didn't sit right with me. I remembered one moment clearly. We were standing near the chairs after the burial, and someone asked about the next family gathering. Who would host? Who would cook? Who would pay for what? It was an ordinary question, but it came too early, like someone was already thinking about plans instead of pain. Nadia was crying. Then she suddenly stopped. Not slowly. Suddenly. Like a tap was turned off. She looked to her side and Caleb was there. He leaned close and whispered something to her. I didn't hear his words, but I saw Nadia's face change. Her eyes hardened. She nodded once like she understood a new idea. After that, she avoided my eyes for the rest of the day. At the time, I told myself, maybe she's just tired. Now, sitting at my kitchen table, I wasn't so sure. I thought about Aunt Moira too. During the funeral week, she moved like a queen in the middle of the crowd. She was always telling people what to do, who should speak when the food should be served, who should sit in front. She acted helpful, but she also acted like she owned the whole moment. And she kept pulling Nadia aside. Every time I turned around, Aunt Moira was speaking to my daughter in a low voice. Nadia would listen with a tight face, then nod like she had been given instructions. Once I walked close and said softly, "Nadia, are you okay? Do you need to rest?" Nadia didn't even look at me properly. She just said, "I'm fine," and walked away with Caleb. That hurt, but I still stayed quiet. I was still the one making sure things ran smoothly, still the one making sure people ate, still the one making sure transport was arranged, still the one answering calls from relatives who wanted updates. I did what I always did. I carried the load, even when my shoulders were breaking. After the funeral, everyone kept coming to my house. Some came to pray, some came to cry, some came to check on me. But their eyes kept going to the living room cabinet where my mother used to keep important papers. I noticed it. 2 women I barely knew whispered near that cabinet and stopped talking when I walked in. One man asked, "So, did Mama leave anything special?" The question made my stomach twist. I replied calmly, "My mother left memories and wisdom. That's what matters." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. When Nadia and Caleb visited on the 4th day after the burial, Caleb walked around my sitting room like he was counting things. His eyes went to my mother's old radio, then to her framed photo, then to the cabinet. He said, "This place is big, too big for one person." I stared at him. "This is my home," I said softly. He smiled quickly. Of course. I just mean, it must be a lot to maintain." Nadia sat quietly, her arms folded. When I offered her tea, she said no. That was not my Nadia. My Nadia loved tea. I remember thinking, what is happening to my child? That same evening, after they left, I went into my room and opened the small bag of my mother's things. It was a simple bag, the kind she used when she went to church. Inside were her scarf, her reading glasses, and a little notebook with prayer points. At the bottom, I found an envelope. It was sealed. My name was on it. Oh, written in my mother's handwriting. My fingers shook as I held it. For a moment, I didn't want to open it, because opening it felt like admitting she was truly gone. Like taking the last gift from someone who could no longer speak. I sat on the bed and whispered, "Mama, what is this?" Then I opened it. Inside was a short letter, not long, not dramatic. Just my mother's simple words. She wrote about love and family, but she also wrote one sentence that made my throat go dry. She warned me that some people would become different when money and property were involved. She wrote that I should be careful with who I trust, even if they are smiling at me. She said some things were put in place for protection, not punishment. I read the letter twice. Then I folded it and held it to my chest. I didn't know everything yet. But I knew this much. What was happening was not only about feelings. Something else was moving under the surface. That afternoon, I called Mr. Linford, the lawyer who had helped my mother with her papers for years. My voice was steady, but my hands were still trembling. "Good day," I said. "I need to see you. It's about my mother's documents." He didn't ask too many questions. He just said, "Come tomorrow morning. We'll talk calmly." When I ended the call, I sat quietly again. The house was still heavy, but now I had one small thing inside me that I didn't have the night before. Direction. Not anger, not revenge, just direction. And I knew I would not shout my way through this. I would walk through it carefully, step by step, until I understood the truth. Mr. Linford's office smelled like clean paper and old books, and it was the kind of place where people spoke softly, like loud voices could break something important. I arrived early, not because I was eager, but because I didn't want to sit at home with my thoughts. The quiet in my house had started to feel like a weight on my chest. A young receptionist asked me to sign my name. My hand shook a little as I wrote. I told myself to breathe slowly. In, out. Mr. Linford came out a few minutes later. He was a tall man with calm eyes and a face that did not show surprise easily. "Mrs. Eunice," he said, offering a small nod. "Please come in." His office had a big desk and 2 chairs. A small plant sat by the window. Everything looked neat, like every item had a place. I sat down and placed my bag on my lap. I didn't want to put it on the floor like it might fall apart. "Mr. Linford folded his hands. "First," he said gently, "I'm sorry about your mother. She was a good woman. Very careful. Very organized." I swallowed. "Thank you." He waited, letting silence settle before he continued. "You called about documents." I took out the envelope my mother left for me and placed it on the desk. "She wrote me a letter," I said. "It warned me. Not clearly, but enough." Mr. Linford glanced at the envelope, but didn't touch it. "Your mother asked me to keep many things on record," he said. "Some were simple, some were protective." Protective. That word matched what my mother wrote. I leaned forward a little. "Please explain," I said. He opened a file drawer and pulled out a thin folder with my mother's name. He did not rush. He did not throw papers at me like weapons. As he moved like a man handling something delicate. "Your mother had 3 main concerns," he said. "Peace in the family, security for the grandchildren, and making sure no one could pressure you into giving up what you didn't want to give." My throat tightened. "Did she expect pressure?" I asked. Mr. Linford didn't answer that directly. He simply said, "She planned for it." He slid one paper toward me. It was a list, typed neatly. I saw words like account, instructions, and beneficiaries. My eyes moved quickly, but my mind couldn't take everything at once. I looked up. "I don't understand all this," I admitted. "That's okay," he said. "We will go slowly." He explained that my mother had set aside some money long ago with clear rules. It was not for adults to fight over, and it was meant for the children in the family, especially education and basic support, so that no matter what happened between grown-ups, the children wouldn't suffer. "She loved the children deeply," Mr. Linford said. I nodded. My chest hurt. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. Because of the rules, no one can just walk in and demand access. Not you, not your daughter, not anyone. I blinked. Not even me. No, he said softly. You can guide and protect, but you cannot break the structure. Your mother built it that way on purpose. A strange feeling rose in me. It was not anger. It was not joy either. It was respect. My mother had seen something coming, and she had built a fence before the storm arrived. I thought about the group chat again, the panic, the sudden desperation, the 56 missed calls. The way Caleb typed, "Fix this now." My mouth went dry. I asked carefully, "Mr. Linford, have people been calling you?" He paused for half a second, just half, but I noticed. "A few people asked questions after the funeral," he said. "That's normal." Normal. But his eyes told me it wasn't fully normal. I didn't push too hard. I didn't want to sound like a person chasing gossip. I wanted facts. Paper facts. I pointed gently to the folder. What else did my mother set up? Mr. Linford pulled out another sheet. This one listed property details. My mother's house, a small piece of land, and one other item I didn't expect to see. I stared at the page. This? I didn't know about this, I whispered. He nodded. Many people didn't. My heart started beating faster. Not because I wanted things, but because I suddenly understood why certain eyes kept moving to that cabinet in my living room. Some people weren't grieving. Some people were calculating. Mr. Linford spoke again, slow and steady. Your mother's instructions are clear, but I need to ask, has anyone pressured you or tried to make you feel guilty? I almost laughed, but no sound came out. Guilty. That was the word. Since the funeral, I said quietly, my daughter has been different. And her husband? I stopped, choosing my words carefully. He speaks like he is trying to take control of the room, even when he smiles. Mr. Linford didn't look shocked. He just nodded like a doctor listening to symptoms. I won't comment on people, he said, but I will tell you this. Your mother wanted everything handled with calm. No shouting. No rushed signature. No decision made because someone is crying loudly. I remembered Aunt Moira's messages. Restore the payments. We will settle this tomorrow. I pressed my lips together. Mr. Linford continued. If you choose to help your daughter, do it in ways that protect you and protect the children. And if you choose to stop helping, you have every right. Support is a gift, not a debt. A gift, not a debt. That sentence landed inside me like a stone settling at the bottom of a river. I sat back and exhaled slowly. Mr. Linford closed the folder. Mrs. Eunice, he said. Your mother also left one instruction for you. My eyes lifted. What instruction? He tapped the folder gently. She said, when things get noisy, follow the paper. Paper doesn't lie the way people do. I didn't know why, but tears filled my eyes again, and not the wild crying from the funeral. These were quiet tears. The kind that come when you realize someone loved you enough to prepare for your hard days. I wiped my face and nodded. Thank you, I whispered. As I stood to leave, Mr. Linford added, one more thing. If a family meeting happens, do not go alone. Bring someone calm with you, someone who will not be pulled by emotion. Pastor Daniel's face came to my mind. I stepped out of the office into the bright day. Cars passed. People walked. Life kept moving. But inside me, something had changed. I still felt pain. I still felt grief. But now I understood why the group chat turned into panic so fast. It wasn't just because I stopped paying bills, it was because I had stopped being easy to use, and whatever was hiding under the surface was starting to show. I didn't go home straight after leaving Mr. Linford's office. If I went home, I would sit in the same chair, stare at the same wall, and let the group chat noise enter my heart again. So I went somewhere quiet first. I sat in my car for a while with the engine off, hands on the steering wheel, breathing slowly. My mother's words stayed in my head. When things get noisy, follow the paper. But paper alone wouldn't fix my daughter's heart. Nadia was still my child. Even if she had pushed me away, I could not pretend she was a stranger. I just needed to speak to her in a way that could not be twisted. So I called her. Once. It rang. It rang again. Then she answered so fast it sounded like she had been staring at the phone waiting. Mum? Her voice cracked on the first word. Mum? I thank God. I didn't let her continue with tears and speed. If she ran too fast, the truth would hide again. Nadia, I said softly, I want us to talk. Not in the group chat. Not with shouting. Just talk. She sniffed. Okay. Yes. Please. Meet me, I said. Somewhere public. Somewhere calm. We will sit and speak like adults. She hesitated. Caleb will come. My stomach tightened. I kept my voice gentle. Nadia, I asked to talk to you. There was silence on the line. Then she said, smaller, he won't like that. I'm not asking what he likes, I replied. I'm asking what you need. Another silence. Finally she whispered, okay, I'll come. We agreed on a small cafe near a busy street. I chose it on purpose. In busy places, people behave better. In busy places, lies feel heavier. When I arrived, Nadia was already there. Sitting stiffly, eyes red, hands twisting a napkin like she wanted to tear it apart. She looked younger than her age in that moment, like a scared girl, not a grown woman with a home and a child. I sat across from her. For a few seconds, we just looked at each other. I wanted to reach across the table and hold her hand, but I didn't. Not yet. I needed to understand what had happened first. Nadia spoke fast. Mum, I didn't mean... I lifted one palm gently. Nadia, answer me slowly. Did you write that message? She blinked. Yes. Did you mean it? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes moved away from mine. That told me enough. I leaned forward a little, keeping my voice low. Who helped you write it? Her shoulders rose like she was trying to protect herself. No one helped me. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. And I simply repeated the question. Who helped you write it? Nadia swallowed. Her throat moved like she was trying to push down a stone. Then she whispered, Caleb was there. I nodded once, not surprised, just sad. And who else? Her fingers tightened around the napkin. Aunt Moira talked to me earlier that day. The air felt thick. I sat back slowly. What did she tell you? Nadia's voice became shaky. She said, She said you would now control everything because Grandma is gone. She said if I don't stand up, you will treat me like a child forever. I stared at Nadia, trying to keep my face calm even though my heart was aching. Nadia, I said, have I ever treated you like a child? She didn't answer right away. Tears gathered again. I don't know, she said. It felt like you were always the one saving us. And Caleb kept saying I was too dependent. He said you enjoyed it. I felt a pain like a small knife, not because I didn't understand pride, because I understood it too well. Nadia, I said gently, when I helped you, did I ever insult you with it? She shook her head quickly. No. Did I ever tell people you were struggling? No. Did I ever use it to control you? She hesitated, then whispered, No. I let that sit between us. Then I asked the hardest question as softly as I could. So why did you allow a message that kicked me out like a stranger? Nadia covered her face with both hands and started to cry quietly. I was angry, she said through her fingers. After Grandma died, I felt empty. I felt like everyone was looking at me to be strong, but I wasn't strong. Caleb kept talking. He said I needed to prove something. I watched her carefully. Prove what? That I'm not under you, she said. That you don't own me. My chest rose and fell. I kept my voice steady. Nadia, I don't own you. I never wanted to own you. I wanted to protect you. She nodded, still crying. Then I said the part she needed to hear, even if it hurt. But protection is not the same as payment. Support is not the same as family membership. Nadia lifted her head. Her eyes were wet and wide. Mum, please, the bills. I held up my hand again. Listen to me. She went quiet. You wrote that I'm no longer family, I said. If that is true, then you cannot still expect family support. Her lips trembled. I didn't think you would really stop. That sentence hit me hard. Not because she said it, because it was honest. I leaned forward slightly. Nadia, I said, do you know what hurts me the most? She shook her head. It's not that you were angry, I said. It's that you were sure I would accept being treated badly and still keep paying. Nadia's face crumpled again. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I nodded slowly. Sorry is a start, I said, but sorry doesn't rebuild trust overnight. She wiped her cheeks quickly like a child trying to hide tears. What do I do now? I didn't give her a long speech. I gave her a clear path. You want to be treated like an adult? I asked. Then live like one. Pay your own bills. Make your own choices. And if you want peace with me, it must be real peace, without threats, without group chat punishment, without your husband signing your words. Nadia swallowed. Caleb will be angry. I looked at her calmly. That is between you and Caleb, I said, but the truth is between you and me. She nodded slowly, like the truth was heavy but finally clear. When we stood up to leave, Nadia didn't hug me. I didn't push for it. Some wounds need time before touch feels safe again. She only said, Mum, can I at least bring Tommy to see you? My heart softened at the sound of my granddaughter's name. Yes, I said quietly. Tommy can see me. And as I walked back to my car, I felt the strange mix of emotions only a mother can feel. I was still hurt, I was still grieving, but I had heard the real beginning of the truth. And now I knew exactly where the problem was growing. 2 days after I met Nadia at the cafe, I cleaned my living room slowly like I was preparing for something fragile. I wiped the table, I folded the throw blanket, I swept the floor even though it was already clean. My hands needed work because my heart was too full. I kept thinking about the one thing Nadia said that stayed in my mind like a stone. I didn't think you would really stop. That was not just a sentence, it was a truth about how people had been seeing me as someone who would always bend, always forgive first, always pay first, always fix everything. But I had learned something in the past week. If you keep fixing people, some of them stop learning how to stand. Around noon, my gate creaked open. I looked through the window and saw Nadia's car. My chest tightened and my hands went cold. I wasn't sure what face she would bring today, her angry face or her sorry face. Then I saw a smaller figure jump out of the car. Tommy. When my granddaughter ran toward my door with the kind of speed only children have. Her hair was tied in 2 small puffs, and she wore a pink dress with tiny flowers. She held a small plastic bag in one hand, like it was treasure. When I opened the door, Tommy didn't wait for greetings. She threw her arms around my waist and pressed her cheek against me. "Grandma," she said, loud and happy. The sound of her voice made my eyes sting. I hugged her carefully like I was holding something breakable and precious. "My dear," I whispered, "I missed you." Tommy pulled back and looked up at me. Her smile faded a little. "Mummy said you were busy," she said, "but I told her you always have time for me." I swallowed hard. "I always have time for you," I said. Behind Tommy, Nadia stood near the doorway, her face tired. She didn't smile much, as she didn't look proud either. She looked like someone who had slept with worries. "Come in," I told her. Nadia entered slowly. She didn't sit down right away. She looked around like she was expecting the house to speak. Tommy ran to the couch and sat, swinging her feet. Then she opened the plastic bag and pulled out a small drawing. It was a picture of a woman with a big round head, a smiling mouth, and a long dress. A child stood beside her. Above them was a sun, drawn too close to the top. "This is you and me," Tommy said proudly. "And this is Great-Grandma in heaven." She pointed to a small cloud with a stick figure on it. My heart squeezed. I nodded, smiling even as my eyes filled. "It's beautiful," I said. Tommy leaned closer, her voice turning quiet like she was telling a secret. Why did everyone shout on Mummy's phone at night?" she asked. I heard Caleb talking. He was angry. Nadia stiffened. I placed my hand on Tommy's shoulder gently. "Sometimes adults argue," I said softly, "but you don't need to carry adult problems." Tommy frowned. "But I was scared," she said. Mummy cried. Caleb slammed the door. Nadia's eyes dropped to the floor. I didn't blame Tommy for speaking. Children notice everything. They may not understand, but they feel the air change. I guided Tommy toward the kitchen. "Let's make your favorite noodles," I said. "You can help me." Tommy's face brightened at once. "Yes!" While the noodles boiled, Tommy chatted about school and her teacher and a new song they learned. I laughed in the right places and nodded, but inside I was listening to her small words about that night. Crying. Anger. A slammed door. So the storm hadn't only been in my phone, it had been in their house too. When the noodles were done, I carried 2 bowls to the living room. Tommy sat happily and ate, her legs swinging again. Nadia finally sat down across from me. We waited until Tommy was busy chewing before Nadia spoke. "Mum," she said, voice low, "Caleb is not happy that I brought Tommy." I held my face calm. "I didn't ask about Caleb," I replied gently. "I asked about Tommy." Nadia nodded, but her eyes looked heavy. "He said you're trying to turn Tommy against him." I almost laughed, but it wasn't funny. "How?" I asked. "By feeding her noodles?" Nadia's mouth twitched, like she wanted to smile but couldn't. "He says you're using money to punish him." I leaned back slightly. "I didn't punish him," I said. "I respected his decision." He agreed I'm no longer family. Nadia flinched at those words. I continued calmly. "If I'm not family, then my support is not required. It's that simple." Nadia's eyes filled again. "He wants me to ask you to restore the payments," she whispered. There it was. Not apology first, not healing first. Payments. Again. I looked at Nadia carefully. "Did you come here to talk about money?" I asked. She shook her head quickly. "No," she said. I came because I miss you. And Tommy misses you. But Caleb keeps telling me we're sinking. He keeps saying you're making us suffer." I took a slow breath. "Nadia," I said, "let me tell you something with love." She listened. "You are not sinking because I stopped paying," I said. You are sinking because you built your peace on my payments instead of building it on your own planning." Nadia swallowed hard. I kept my voice soft so Tommy wouldn't notice the seriousness. "You and your husband are grown adults. You should be able to handle your home without threatening me and then begging me." Nadia whispered, "He said if you really loved us, you would help." I felt a sadness so deep it was almost quiet. "Love is not the same as being used," I said. Nadia stared at her hands. "So what do I do?" I didn't rush. I thought of Mr. Linford's advice. I thought of my mother's protective planning. I thought of Tommy's small face asking why adults shouted. Then I spoke clearly. "I will help the children," I said. "I will not funnel money through Caleb's hands anymore." Nadia looked up quickly. "What do you mean?" "I mean," I said, "if Tommy's school fees need to be paid, I can pay the school directly. If Tommy needs books, I can buy them. If you need groceries sometimes, I can send groceries. But I will not send money into a place where it becomes a weapon." Nadia's lips trembled. "Caleb will say you're controlling us." I shook my head gently. "This is not control," I said. "This is protection. For me and for the children." Nadia covered her mouth with her hand. Tears slipped out again, but quieter now. "I don't know how to stand against him," she whispered. I leaned forward, voice still calm. "Then learn," I said. "Not by fighting like a storm, by choosing like an adult." She nodded slowly. From the couch, Tommy suddenly looked up. "Grandma," she said, "can I sleep here today?" My heart jumped, both happy and worried. We'll see, my dear," I said gently. "Let me talk to your mummy." Tommy went back to eating, satisfied with that answer. Nadia watched her child and whispered, "Caleb won't allow it." I didn't argue. I just said, "Then we will do what is safe and wise." That evening, Pastor Daniel came to my house, as we had agreed earlier. Not for drama, not for shouting, just for peace and clarity. He greeted Tommy kindly, then sat with me and Nadia while Tommy watched cartoons quietly with low volume. Pastor Daniel looked at Nadia and said, "My daughter, I want to ask you one thing. When the payments stopped, what hurt you more, the loss of money or the loss of your mother's trust?" Nadia's face changed, like a light touched a dark corner. She didn't answer fast. She finally whispered, "The trust." Pastor Daniel nodded. "Oh, then that is what you must rebuild," he said. "Money can be found again. Trust is harder." Nadia wiped her face. "I want to rebuild it," she said. I watched her carefully. I wanted to believe her, but I also knew something. Wanting is not the same as doing. After Pastor Daniel left, Nadia stood at my door with Tommy holding her hand. Tommy hugged me again, tight. "Don't disappear," she whispered into my clothes. I kissed her forehead. "I'm right here," I said. Nadia looked at me, eyes tired. "Mum," she said softly, "Caleb wants to come tomorrow. He says we should all talk." I nodded once. "Okay," I said. But inside me, I already knew one thing for sure. If Caleb came with sweet words and empty hands, trying to pull me back into the same trap, I would not fall again. Not this time. Caleb came the next day, just like Nadia said. I watched from my window as their car stopped outside my gate. Nadia stepped out first, holding Tommy's hand. Tommy waved at me with a small smile, but her eyes looked careful, like she wasn't sure what kind of day this would be. Then Caleb came out. He wore a clean shirt and a calm face, the kind people wear when they want to look reasonable. He even carried a small box of biscuits in his hand, like that could sweeten anything. I opened the door before they knocked. "Good afternoon," Caleb said, smiling. "Mama Eunice." I nodded once. "Good afternoon." They walked in. Tommy went to the couch quietly. Nadia sat down slowly. Caleb sat across from me like this was a business meeting, not a family problem. For a moment nobody spoke. Then Caleb cleared his throat. "Mama Eunice," he began, "I think we all got carried away." All emotions were high. The funeral week was hard. I listened, not reacting, not moving. He continued. "So we came to settle this maturely. We need to restore peace, you know. Family is family." I looked at him calmly. "Family is family," I repeated. "Yes." Caleb nodded quickly, like he thought he was winning. Then he said, "So we should move forward. Restore the auto payments, and we won't talk about the misunderstanding again." Nadia's head dropped. She looked ashamed. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult him. I just asked one simple question. "Caleb," I said, "when Nadia wrote that message and you replied, 'I agree,' did you mean it?" His smile froze for half a second. He recovered fast. "Mama Eunice, that was just anger." "Did you mean it?" I asked again, still calm. He pressed his lips together. "I meant we needed space," he said. I nodded slowly. "So you did mean it?" Caleb leaned forward. No, that's not what I lifted my hand gently. "Let me speak." He sat back, but his eyes looked sharp now. I turned to Nadia. "Nadia," I asked softly, "did you mean it?" Nadia swallowed. Her voice was small. "No, Mum." "Then why did you send it?" I asked. Nadia's eyes filled with tears. I was hurt, she whispered. I was angry. I listened to the wrong people, I'm sorry. Caleb's jaw tightened. He looked at Nadia like she had embarrassed him. I took a slow breath, then spoke clearly. Here is the truth, I said. You cannot throw me out of the family and still collect family support. It doesn't work like that. Caleb opened his mouth, but I continued. And here is my decision, I said. The auto payments will not return. Nadia flinched. Caleb's face changed. So you are punishing us, he said, voice louder. I shook my head gently. No, I said, I am respecting what you wrote. You said I am no longer family. So I stopped acting like your provider. Caleb's hand tightened on his knee. You know we have responsibilities, he said. You know we have a child. I turned my eyes toward Tommy. She was watching us quietly, her small hands folded in her lap. My voice stayed soft. And that is why I will not abandon Tommy, I said. Nadia looked up fast. Mum. I nodded. I will help Tommy in safe ways. I will pay Tommy's school directly when needed. I will buy books. I will send groceries sometimes. I will help the child without handing money into a place where it becomes a weapon. Caleb scoffed. That's control. It's protection, I replied. For me, for Tommy, and even for Nadia, because it removes fighting. Caleb leaned forward again, voice sharper now. You're trying to make me look bad. I held his gaze. Caleb, I said, you made yourself look bad when you agreed to cut me off. No one forced your thumbs to type those words. Nadia wiped her face. Caleb, please, she whispered. Stop. He turned to her, angry. So you're taking her side now? Nadia's shoulders shook. Then she did something I didn't expect. She sat up straighter. I'm taking the truth side, Nadia said, and I'm taking Tommy's side. The room went quiet. Even Tommy stopped moving. Caleb stared at Nadia like he couldn't believe she spoke back. Nadia kept going, her voice trembling but stronger. You pushed me to send that message, she said. You kept telling me my mother enjoyed controlling me, but you were the one trying to control me. Caleb's face turned hard. Careful, he warned. My heart beat faster, but I stayed still. I didn't want shouting. I wanted clarity. Nadia looked at me. Mum, she said softly, I'm sorry. Not just for the message. I'm sorry I let anyone make me treat you like that. I nodded once. Thank you, I said. That is the beginning. Caleb stood up suddenly. So what now? He snapped. We just suffer. Nadia stood too, even though her legs looked weak. We handle our home, she said. Like adults. Caleb looked around like he was searching for someone to support him, but nobody did. Then he looked at Tommy. Tommy, come, he said sharply. Tommy didn't move right away. She looked at her mother first. Nadia's voice softened. Tommy. It's okay, she said. Come. Tommy stood and walked to Nadia, not to Caleb. Nadia held her hand tightly. That small choice spoke loudly. Caleb grabbed the biscuit box from the table like it suddenly offended him. Fine, he said. Enjoy your boundaries. He walked out. The gate slammed a few seconds later. Nadia's body sagged like she had been holding a heavy bag for too long. I stood up and walked to her slowly. I didn't rush. I didn't lecture. I opened my arms. Nadia stepped into them and cried quietly like a child again. I feel stupid, she whispered. You feel human, I replied. Grief makes people weak, but today you chose better. Tommy hugged us both around the waist. Are we still family? She asked in a small voice. I knelt to her level and held her cheeks gently. Yes, my love, I said, we are family. Or real family doesn't throw people away. Real family learns, says sorry, and does better. That evening, I did one more important thing. I went to my mother's grave. The sky was turning orange and purple. The wind was gentle. I stood there and spoke softly. Mama, I whispered, I miss you. But I hear you. I will love them. And I will be wise. I left the cemetery feeling lighter than I had felt in weeks, not because everything was perfect, but because the truth was finally standing in the open, and I was no longer afraid to protect my peace. If you want more stories like this, where strength is quiet and truth wins, tap like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one.